Interacting with objects. I couldn't think of what else to call it, but the idea will be our default cube. We're going to pull it up so it's actually floating in the sky as such. We're going to have something underneath it, and then when I press play or I press spacebar, it will drop. So it's got some type of gravity, some type of physics, and we can kind of change it round so it can kind of bounce and maybe not bounce so much, if that makes sense, as we go ahead. So, like I said, I've pulled my cube up. I'm going to add a plane and I'm just going to scale it out so it is more like a surface for it to fall on. And all I'm going to do then for each of these, so I'm going to start with my cube. I'm going to click on this icon here, which is physics. I'm going to tick rigid body, and you can see there's an X there, so I can take it off if I want. And if I scroll down, these are the bits and pieces we will be looking at, but I'm just going to make sure that the cube, which is going to fall, is active. On the plane, I need to do the same again. So on physics, click on rigid body, and this time I'm going to make it passive. And if I press the start the play button here, or I press space on my keyboard, you'll see that the cube falls, and the playhead will keep going up until 250, and then it will basically restart again. So I'm just going to press space, and I'm going to put it back to the middle, to the beginning by pressing that button there. Now, the difference was this one is passive, this one is active. So active basically gravity has an effect on it, and then passive basically means that gravity doesn't, but they do interact with each other. So potentially I could click on the cube to make it a little bit more interesting when it just falling straight as it was, and rotate it ever so slightly. And again, if I press space to make it run, then you can see it kind of does interact a little bit. Now, the one thing with that, it didn't really do much in respect of kind of bouncing around and so on, and we'll come to that in a moment. But what I am going to do is basically grab my cube, copy and paste it, and if I just move the other one across and maybe move it up a little bit. So when I've copied and pasted it, it will also obviously copy the fact that it's got a rigid body on it. And I'm just going to rotate this one round so it is more that angle. And then I'm going to press space again, and you'll see that they will kind of interact with each other. Now, at this point, as they fell, they didn't have a great deal of kind of interaction with each other. They did move off each other a little bit. So if I just go back to right at the beginning where we were, and something I want to do for both of these and the plane, I'm just going to scroll down a little bit further on here where it says surface response, and I'm going to put the bounciness maximum to 1. Okay, and I'll do the same for this guy here as well. And the thing which I need to point out is if you're expecting these to bounce off each other and the plane itself also has to have a bounciness as well. And as you might have noticed, just above bounciness is friction. So if you wanted to slide off like it was an ice surface, then you'd put that down to 0. If you didn't want it to move at all when it came into contact with it, so it didn't kind of slide in any way, you'd put that up to 1 as well. So if I hit play this time, you'll see that there is a bit more kind of interactiveness as it's bouncing around like that. So that's kind of nice. Now, the only other thing I want to point out at this point is that each of these, when I click on them, and you'll notice that within the collision, so you might want to click on that to kind of see what's there, they all get given this kind of like convex hull and maybe something else here. I'm going to suggest if you are doing a box, like I've got there, a cube, you change that so it is box, and you can see that it looks a little bit different. These black outlines appear around there, and the same for the other one. And I would also look at the plane, and I wouldn't put it as box because that doesn't make sense. But what I would tick is mesh. Now, mesh is really good if you've got something which has got lots of sides on it. So if you're using your own objects, your own models, that type of stuff. And it basically means that, and in future animations we're going to do, when we run them, they will look like they're kind of interacting with each other in a natural way, if that makes sense. But anyway, so I'm just gonna stop this one a second, and I'm actually gonna make a new one because let's have a look here. Let's get Blender 3.6 open. And I want to do something a bit more than just kind of making two boxes fall onto each other. So again, I'm going to go to General. I'm going to get rid of the cube in this respect. And this time, I'm going to add, not a plane this time, because I want a surface. I'm going to add a grid, which looks like a plane, and I'm going to stretch it out. But when I go to edit mode, you'll see that it's actually a grid of cubes, or grid of squares, I should say. So if I look at it from directly above and I just zoom out a little bit, I can interact with these individually using the faces, using the edges and the vertices. Now, the reason why I've used a grid rather than a plane is because I've highlighted that bit on the end across there. My intention is to actually make a slope of some sort. So I've clicked on move. I'm going to make it so it is proportional editing. And when I drag that up, I kind of get a slope as such, which looks a little bit odd at this point. So I'm going to have to bring up these other lines as well. So if I click on this one here, and remember I've got the edges selected, I hold on Alt on my keyboard and click on the very last one in that line, all those lines become highlighted. And if I just drag that one up as well, I'm going to do the same process with these guys and all. I'm going to do this as quick as I can. Oh no, I didn't hold on Alt. Let me hold on Alt. I held on Shift instead. There we go. So lifting those guys up. So you can see what goes wrong if you don't have them all highlighted. Almost press Shift again. So it's Alt. I'm bringing that across to there. And maybe one more time on this guy here to make it look a little bit smoother. Then I didn't. I held on Shift again. Right, Alt. Click on that one there, and then bring them up like that. So we've kind of got a slope of some sort. So what I'm going to do on my slope, if I just zoom out a little bit, Control minus, I am going to add some cubes. I'm going to bring them up. Whoa, I got too many things selected. Oh, I'm in edit mode, stupid. Let's go to object mode, sorry. And let's just undo that. So it's gone. So back on object mode, I'm going to add a cube. And I'm going to move it up. And I'm going to bring it across this way. And we're just going to go for that process we did earlier. So on the physics for the cube, rigid body, making it active. And I'm going to make it a box. And let's go on to our plane. And I'm going to make it a rigid body. I'm going to make it passive. Now, this time, I'm not actually going to change this because I want to show you what happens when you don't change it. So if I press play, what should happen is it falls down the cube, and then you'd expect it to kind of roll or tumble down the slope, which is there. But if I just press space, what you'll notice is it kind of doesn't do that at all. And the reason why that doesn't do it is because I hadn't changed this here to a mesh. And this time, if I go back to the beginning, so like I just did by clicking there and press play, you'll notice then it kind of interacts with it the way you expect it to as well. And let's just put the bounce up on that as well. So as you can see, the nice thing is it keeps playing, but you can still edit it as things are going. So there's nothing wrong with actually coming across here and changing stuff then, because as you actually change it, and it gets back around to number one, back onto frame number one then, that is, it will automatically kind of update this. So if I just press one on that one as well, so this time the cube should bounce a little bit as it's going along, like so. Okay. It's kind of nice, isn't it, the way it does that? Because you don't have to constantly be testing and testing and pressing play all the time. Right, so a couple of things I want to do is zoom in out. I'm going to grab my box and I'm going to copy and paste it a few times. And I'm just going to move it up into different positions, just move it back a little bit. Let's rotate this guy as well. So everything I'm doing here, we've kind of already done, but I am building up to something to kind of show you a little bit extra. And let's paste another one in. And it's all to do with the rigid body settings we've got across there. So let's just see how that's looking from that point of view. There we go. And let's turn it that way. So let's just press space to see how they interact with each other first of all. So they do kind of bounce into each other and so on. That's great. Okay. Now, what I was kind of building up to was I want to kind of put something down here at the bottom for those to actually bang into and maybe knock over. So I'm going to add another cube. He's going to be down here at the bottom. I'm just going to bring him out this way and I'm going to scale him up so it actually looks a little bit more like a wall. And then these guys will drop down and bang into it. So I've kind of got it quite well on there. So let me, I'm actually going to move it up a little bit because I know if I kind of have it overlapping slightly, it goes absolute bananas when I put a rigid body on it, when I kind of have it set up. So rigid body, we're going to come down. We're not going to put a bounce, or should we put a bounciness on it? No, we won't put a bounciness on it. We're going to make it a box. And if I press play, now what you'd expect to happen is that these guys drop down and bang into this wall, and the wall shouldn't move. But at the moment when we press play, they kind of knock it flying. And the reason why is because they've all got a mass of 1 kilogram. So if I go back to the first frame, these are all got a masses of 1 kilogram, and that's perfectly fine. This one, however, because it's a wall, I want to have a mass of maybe 75 kilos, so maybe it will move slightly. And this time when I press play, they'll bang into it, but in fact they don't move it at all. They're not strong enough. But if I drop the weight down so it is maybe 25k, and then we press space, then it does have some movement in it there then. Now, you might be thinking that's really exciting, but the idea is you kind of mess around with this type of stuff and you can kind of have like your animations which you start to build already, kind of gravity and physics working on them. Now, the only thing I want to point out at some stage, might have to talk to me in class about how we actually get these to fall at different stages rather than all falling at the same point at point number one there. But that's something we can come on to. I'm wondering, how can I use this within my work? Ta-da! And ta-da! Oh, that's what I could do. I could get something to spin around his head like I had the fly in the last video. Maybe like a Tweety bird or a star to say he's dazed and confused. You might be thinking, why am I showing you the exported version of this? The reason being is good. When I tried to play it in Blender, it just took way, way too long.